The garden bloomed with vibrant roses, their petals swaying in the warm breeze of a late spring afternoon. Karoline Leavitt, her suit crisp despite the humid air, stepped out from the White House briefing room, seeking a moment of quiet. Her role as press secretary demanded constant vigilance, but today, her thoughts wandered. She noticed a small figure huddled near a stone bench, partially hidden by a cluster of azaleas. It was a boy, no older than 10, his shoulders shaking with quiet sobs. His hair, dark and tousled, reminded her of someone familiar, though she couldn't place it. Kneeling beside him, she softened her voice, usually sharp for reporters. "Hey, are you okay?" she asked gently. The boy looked up, his eyes red but striking, a shade of hazel that seemed to carry a universe within them. He wiped his face with the sleeve, hesitating. "I'm fine," he mumbled, but his trembling lips betrayed him. Karoline sat on the bench, giving him space. "You don't look fine. Want to tell me what's wrong?" The boy fidgeted, clutching a small device that blinked faintly, like a toy or a prototype. "You're that lady from the news," he said, recognition dawning. "My dad says you're good at talking to people." Karoline smiled, intrigued. "I try." "Who's your dad?" The boy glanced away, as if weighing a secret. "Elon," he whispered finally, the name carrying a weight that made Karoline pause. "Elon Musk's son. Here, crying alone?" She'd seen Elon at White House events, often with his children trailing behind, their presence a curious blend of chaos and charm. But this boy seemed different and vulnerable in a way that tugged at her. "What's got you so upset?" she pressed softly. He hugged his knees, his voice barely audible. "Dad's always busy. He's saving the world. But a broken bar he doesn't see me." The words hit Karoline like a quiet storm. She thought of her own demanding life, the sacrifices she made for her career, and wondered what this child carried in his small heart. The boy's name, he revealed, was X, a nod to his father's penchant for the unconventional. "Everyone thinks it's cool," he said, "but it's hard when people stare." Karoline nodded, understanding the burden of her public life. She'd faced scrutiny herself, her youth and rapid rise to press secretary fodder for critics. "Names don't define us," she offered. "It's what you do that matters." X looked skeptical, his fingers tracing the device in his hands. "Dad says I'm supposed to do big things, like him. But I just want to play soccer or a broken bar. I don't know. Be normal." His voice cracked, and Karoline felt a pang. She imagined Elon, the visionary who dreamed of Mars, perhaps overlooking the quieter dreams of his son. "Normal's overrated," she said with a grin, "but I get it." "Have you told your dad how you feel?" X shook his head. "He's always talking about the future." "I don't think he'd listen." The garden seemed to hush around them, the distant hum of DC traffic fading. Karoline leaned forward, her tone earnest. "You'd be surprised. Parents can be clueless sometimes, but they love hearing from their kids." X's eyes flickered with doubt, but also a spark of hope. "He's got meetings all day," he said. "Something about tariffs and Doge." Karoline stifled a laugh. Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, was Elon's latest obsession, a whirlwind of bureaucracy slashing that kept the administration buzzing. "Yeah, he's a busy guy," she admitted. "But I bet he'd make time for you." X's face softened, though his tears lingered. "Last week, he took me to a rocket launch. It was awesome, but then he got a call and a broken bar. Poof, gone." Karoline pictured Elon, phone in hand, juggling Tesla, SpaceX, and now government reform, his mind a galaxy of ideas. Yet here was his son, craving something simpler. "What if you wrote him a letter?" Karoline suggested. "Sometimes it's easier to say things on paper." X tilted his head, considering. "Like an email?" he asked, his tech-savvy nature peeking through. "Sure, or old school, with a pen." "Whatever feels right." She glanced at the device in his hands, now glowing faintly. "What's that, anyway?" X's mood lifted slightly. "It's a star tracker I made. It finds constellations." He pointed it at the sky, though the sun still shone. "That's amazing," Karoline said, genuinely impressed. "You're already doing big things." X shrugged, but a shy smile crept in. "Dad helped me start it, but I figured out the code myself." The pride in his voice was unmistakable, yet it carried a shadow of longing. Karoline wondered how often Elon saw this side of his son, the quiet brilliance beneath the tears. The conversation shifted to lighter topics: X's love for sci-fi books, his dream of visiting Mars but only if there's Wi-Fi. Karoline shared a story from her childhood, how she'd once run away to her backyard treehouse, upset over a forgotten school play. "My mom found me, and we talked it out," she said. "Sometimes you just need to let people know you're hurting." X listened intently, his tears drying. "You think Dad's like that he'd listen?" Karoline nodded. "I've seen him at briefings. He's intense, but he cares about what matters. You matter to him." X's fingers tightened around his star tracker, as if grounding himself. "Maybe I'll try," he said softly. The garden felt warmer now, the roses brighter, as if mirroring the shift in X's mood. Karoline felt a quiet pride she'd reached him, if only for a moment. Footsteps crunched on the gravel path, and Karoline turned to see a Secret Service agent approaching. "Miss Leavitt, you're needed inside," he said, then glanced at X with a nod. "You okay, kid?" X nodded, standing a little taller. "I'm good." The agent left, and Karoline rose, brushing dirt from her knees. "I've got to go handle some reporters," she said. "But you've got this, X. Talk to your dad. He'll surprise you." X clutched his device, his expression a mix of resolve and nerves. "Thanks, Miss Leavitt," he said, the formality almost comical from a 10-year-old. "Call me Karoline," she replied, winking. As she walked back to the White House, she glanced over her shoulder. X was still by the bench, pointing his star tracker at the sky, a small silhouette against the vast garden. She hoped he'd find his voice, and that Elon would hear it. Inside, the briefing room buzzed with anticipation. Karoline took her place at the podium, her mind still partly in the garden. Reporters fired questions about tariffs, Doge, and Elon's latest spat with a trade advisor. She handled them with her usual precision, but X's words echoed. "He doesn't see me." She thought of Elon, just down the hall, likely buried in spreadsheets or calls. Could she bridge the gap? After the briefing, she spotted Elon in a corridor, his 4-year-old son on his shoulders, laughing. The sight was charming, yet it sharpened her resolve. "Mr. Musk," she called, approaching. Elon turned, his expression curious. "Karoline, what's up?" She hesitated, aware of the weight of her next words. "I met your son X in the garden today." Has a broken bar got a lot on his mind? Elon's brow furrowed, the toddler on his shoulders oblivious to the shift. "X," Elon said, his voice softening. "Is he okay?" Karoline chose her words carefully. "He's a great kid, really smart, but he's feeling a bit. A broken bar overlooked. Maybe check in with him?" Elon's eyes, usually sharp with focus, clouded briefly. "He's always been quiet," he murmured, almost to himself. "Thanks for the heads up." Karoline nodded, sensing she'd planted a seed. As Elon walked away, his toddler babbling, she felt a flicker of hope. Back at her desk, she scrolled through X posts about Elon and his tariff feud, his Doge reforms, his relentless pace. The world saw a titan, but X saw a dad. She wondered if her brief encounter would ripple, if X would find the courage to speak. The day wore on, meetings piling up, but the garden stayed with her, a reminder of the human side of power. That evening, X sat in his room, the star tracker on his desk. He opened his laptop, staring at a blank email. "Dear Dad," he typed, then paused. "How do you tell a man who dreams of galaxies that you just want his time?" He thought of Karoline's warmth, her belief in him. Slowly, he began to write, pouring out his fears, his love for coding, his wish for a digest only where they could talk without phones. The words flowed, raw and honest. He described the garden, how he'd cried, how Karoline listened. "I don't want to be a burden," he wrote, "but I miss you." He hesitated, then hit send, his heart racing. Outside, the stars blinked, and he wondered if his dad would read it, if it would matter. The device on his desk glowed, a tiny constellation of his own making. Elon's phone pinged late that night, the email from X glowing on the screen. He was in a Tesla, heading to a SpaceX meeting, the city lights blurring past. He opened it, expecting a school update or a tech question. Instead, he found his son's heart laid bare. Each word struck deeper, painting a picture of a boy he thought he knew. "I miss you," X wrote, and Elon's throat tightened. He thought of his own childhood, the drive that pushed him forward, the loneliness he'd buried. Had he passed that on? He reread the email, the car silent except for the hum of the engine. For once, the future could wait. He typed the reply, X, I'm sorry, let's talk tomorrow. Just as he sent it, hoping it wasn't too late, hoping his son would feel seen. The next morning, X woke to his dad's email, his eyes wide with disbelief. Just as it promised, and for the first time in weeks, he smiled fully. At breakfast, Elon appeared, no phone in hand, and pulled X into a hug. Got your email, he said simply. I'm proud of you. They really talked about stars, soccer, and the weight of big dreams. X showed Elon the star tracker, explaining the code, and Elon listened, his focus unwavering. Karoline, passing by on her way to a briefing, caught a glimpse of them in the garden, laughing together. She smiled, her heart lighter. Her role was to shape narratives, but this felt bigger, a quiet victory for a boy who'd found his voice. The roses swayed, the sun climbed, and for a moment, the world felt right. Word of X's email spread quietly among Elon's staff, a testament to the power of honesty. Karoline overheard aides whispering about it, marveling at how a child's words had paused the Titan's pace. She kept X's confidence, but the story inspired her. In her next briefing, she spoke with a new warmth, emphasizing family amid policy debates. Reporters noticed, one even asking if she'd softened. Life reminds you what matters, she replied, thinking of the garden. X, meanwhile, felt a shift. His dad wasn't perfect, but he was trying. They planned a weekend trip, no work allowed, just stargazing and stories. X's star tracker became their project, a bridge between their worlds. The device glowed brighter now, as if reflecting their renewed bond. Elon, too, carried the lesson forward. At a Doge meeting, he paused to thank his team, acknowledging their family's sacrifices. We're building the future, he said, but let's not forget who it's for. His words surprised his advisors, used to his relentless drive. Karoline watched from the sidelines, her respect for him growing. She'd seen his flaws and his tariffs bats, his brash tweets, but also his capacity to change. X's email had done that, a ripple from a garden bench. She wondered if other children felt unseen, if her own future kids would face similar struggles. The thought lingered as she prepared for another briefing, her notes dotted with reminders to call her parents. The White House hummed, a machine of power, but its heart beat in moments like these. X's confidence grew, his tears replaced by a quiet strength. He joined a soccer team, his dad cheering from the sidelines, phone off. At school, he shared his star tracker, earning odd looks from classmates. My dad says it could be an app, he told them, beaming. Karoline followed his progress through Elon's occasional updates, brief but warm, ascending the steep path to press freedom. She smiled to herself. The boy's courage, her own small role in it, became a private touchstone. She kept a rose from the garden on her desk, a reminder of why she served. The world spun and not tariffs, reforms, headlines, but in the garden, a boy had spoken, and the future felt a little brighter. Months later, X and Elon unveiled the Star Tracker app, a free tool for kids to explore the sky. At the launch, X spoke briefly, his voice steady. This is for anyone who feels invisible, he said. You're not. Karoline watched the livestream, tears in her eyes. The app spread, downloaded millions of times, a testament to a boy's vision. Elon, standing beside X, looked different. He's still driven, but grounded. He mentioned Karoline in his speech, a nod to her kindness. Small moments matter, he said, and she felt the weight of those words. The garden, once just a backdrop, became a symbol for here, a place where hearts could mend. The story of X and the garden never made headlines, too quiet for a noisy world, but it lived in those it touched. Karoline mentored young staffers, urging them to listen, to see the people behind the policies. X grew into a teenager, his bond with Elon strong, their stargazing trips a tradition. The Star Tracker app evolved, adding features for schools, inspiring a generation. Elon, reflecting on Doge's cuts, ensured family programs survived, a nod to X's influence. Karoline kept the rose, now dried, as a talisman. It reminded her that power wasn't just in podiums or policies, But in pausing, in hearing a child's heart. Years later, X visited the White House, now a young man studying astrophysics. He found Karoline in the garden, the roses still blooming. "You changed everything," he told her, his hazel eyes bright. Karoline laughed, embarrassed. "You did that yourself." They sat on the bench, talking of stars and dreams. X showed her the latest tape update, a feature for mapping exoplanets. "Dad's obsessed with Mars again," he said, grinning. "Some things don't change." But some did, Karoline thought. The boy who'd cried here was now a light for others, his voice a constellation in the sky. She felt proud, not of herself, but of him, of the world they were building, one small moment at a time. The garden remained a sanctuary, its roses a quiet witness to countless stories. Karoline, now a senior advisor, returned often, finding clarity amid the blooms. She wrote a memoir, dedicating a chapter to X, though she changed his name to protect him. Readers loved it, calling it a reminder of humanity in politics. X read it, now a professor, and sent her a note. "Thanks for seeing me." Elon, semi-retired, called too, his voice warm. "You were right about him," he said. The Star Tracker app, now a global platform, linked kids across continents, its code still bearing X's first lines. The garden's lesson, love, see shaped them all, a legacy brighter than any star. As Karoline stood in the garden one last time before leaving D.C., the roses glowed in the twilight. She thought of X, of the boy who'd trusted her, of the man he'd become. The bench was empty now, but its story lived on. She touched the dried rose in her pocket, its petals fragile but enduring. The White House loomed behind her, a place of power, but the garden held its heart. X's app lit up phones worldwide, guiding eyes to the sky. Elon's dreams of Mars burned on, tempered by his son's quieter fire. Karoline smiled, stepping into the dusk. The future was vast, but it began here, in a garden, with a boy's tears and a moment of grace.